Welcome, one and all, young and old, however it goes, to the Cam Jam Experience podcast
I think we got everyone, young and old.
Whoever. I mean, doesn't matter what age you are. You can take a listen. But this is Cameron Gwynn talking at you with James Paxson. What's up, my dude?
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. So, dude, this has been kind of a weird Final Four setup, to be honest.
It's a year that everybody wants secretly, is the upsets and the people they don't expect, because it's fun to see the upsets. It's fun to see South Carolina and Gonzaga and Oregon in it. But to get a little personal, yesterday was a very sad day in my household.
Yeah.
My father and I did not have a good night. We're big UK fans at the Paxson household, and my father and I were watching the game, and we saw a 3 to tie the game at 73 if everyone was watching. But right after that, North Carolina got the 2 points to win it, so it wasn't a very it's sad. It's hard to talk about. I mean, when you're that close to winning, but you lose.
So, I totally forgot for some reason that, like, your whole house is just all UK. So when I got a text from you that was explicit as could be, I was really confused. I thought something was, like, majorly wrong, like somebody was...
The most majorly wrong thing that happened in my household yesterday was that Kentucky lost. to make you less worried at a best friend standpoint that I was in trouble, it was more that the Cats lost.
The Cats lost. So then that means that North Carolina is on the road to probably just a championship at this point. Let's just say it.
We agreed to that pretty well. South Carolina, Gonzaga. I'm gonna pick Gonzaga only because I think they have a stronger defense.
Yeah.
I like the way South Carolina's played, but I think Gonzaga's gonna go to the championship, and I think North Carolina's gonna beat Oregon. And I think North Carolina's got this championship down.
They're too good of a team not to at this point, because if you're facing either South Carolina or Gonzaga, and when you're North Carolina, they're not going to sit there and chuckle at them, obviously, because they know that it's going to be a tough task,
right,
regardless of who they play. But they're just a way better team.
Sure. I mean, I think it's just easy.
It is.
I mean, I don't want to get into it that bad because they are 3 really good teams.
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason that Kansas lost is because Oregon had a better matchup position-wise, and I don't think Oregon has a better matchup position-wise with North Carolina. So, yeah, I see North Carolina winning it by far.
Yeah, but I do think it's going to be a North Carolina-Gonzaga final, which is sad for my bracket because, you and I both had Gonzaga losing in either the second or third round. I think we both had them in the second, actually, losing. But... enough about our brackets. Ours are done. They're terrible.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be fun to watch next week.
Oh,
March Madness wise, but I think North Carolina's got this pretty set up, and if they don't, then it'd be interesting to see who wins it, because it's gonna be a team who either has only won once or has never won.
Right.
I think that's more exciting than to see North Carolina win.
True.
So
because 2 of the 3 teams have never been in South Carolina and Gonzaga, and Oregon hasn't been since the first time that they've had the Final Four tournament. So it's a cool setup, really. It's just weird that it ended that way,
It's very weird that it ended it because I don't think anybody expected it, no matter what state you're from, no matter who's your team. I do want to give a shout-out to Frank Martin, though, who's the coach of South Carolina. He's done an amazing job coaching his team. He's done an amazing job. In the last couple weeks, he beat Duke. He beat Florida.
Yep.
And, he just he coached better than anybody expected. So
yeah.
I'm going to give him credit there. Yeah, I think we can agree North Carolina's going to win it.
I'm in agreement with that, yeah.
Okay, we'll agree with that. Today on the Cam Jam Podcast Experience, we'll be talking a lot of NFL draft. For the next month or so, we'll have an NFL draft conversation in every single show, I'll say. We'll talk about a lot of the big board stuff, first round. We'll give a top 3 for each position. Cameron's going to focus on offense. I'll focus on defense. And we'll talk about the Lions, who they should get, who they need. Maybe we'll add in a little bit of free agency in there for the Detroit Lions. Then we're going to get to Kicking It with Cam, mixed with the Paxson Pit Stop, as always. And then at the end of it, we're going to end with something a little out there. I'll say it's going to have a little sports in it, but it's not going to be focused on sports. It's going to be more of a humanity basic conversation, as I'll say. It's something that Cameron and I disagree on, and I think we'll have a little debate at the end. But first, we're going to get to the draft, and as I have in front of me is Todd McShay, the ESPN draft guru.
The guru.
We'll call him a guru. His number one pick by the Cleveland Browns will be Myles Garrett. He's an outside linebacker and defensive end from Texas A&M. This guy is amazingly fast.
Yeah,
This guy could hit the holes very well in the linebacker position. I think he's going to be great no matter where he goes. For the top 5 on the McShay big board, next is San Francisco. And he's got the 49ers picking Deshaun Watson, the quarterback from Clemson, who led his team to a national championship. And I feel he's a really good quarterback, but he lacks leadership.
He does a little bit. That'll come though. He's more. It seems like in post-game interviews, he's kind of about himself. It seems like he talks about how I'm the greatest quarterback in the league right now. Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. All this stuff, So, yeah, I totally see where you're going with that. That's going to be the only issue with the 49ers, but they haven't had, a quarterback who's a leader, really, in a long time.
Next guy I want to bring up, which we were going to get to right after I did the top 5, but this is my favorite guy in the draft. Okay. I think this guy should go number 1. His name's Jonathan Allen. He's a defensive end from Alabama. He's an old-time Alabama defensive player. When I say old-time defensive player, he's a hard-hitting, does his job, doesn't do anything fancy. You're not going to hear Jonathan Allen on the TV.
No.
You're not going to hear Joe Buck or Troy Aikman say Jonathan Allen. You're going to see him doing his job. You're going to see him making sure that the running back can't get past him. He's a very good run defensive man. And I'm obsessed with Jonathan Allen. A lot of people compare him to Fletcher Cox. That's what it says on Todd McShay's post right here on ESPN. And it says right here on Jonathan Allen that he's an outstanding leader and an athlete with an ability to rush the passer from outside or inside. This guy is fast. Yep. This guy thinks off his feet. This guy, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and I like players who don't make a lot of mistakes.
No.
So I see Jonathan Allen being very good, but they got him going 3rd to the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
Frankly, he would be great with whatever team he goes on.
Honestly, he's just, like you said, that old school player where he just gets in there, does his job. It doesn't matter who he's lined up against. He's going to do work against them, He's a big guy. I've seen plays where you said he stops the run very well. Even if he can't get to the running back, he kind of throws his guy at the running back to force contact and get him off balance, so that another person can get to him. He throws assists out there for tackles, it seems like, when he's pushing people into the running back or whatever it is, But, yeah, he's a great defensive end.
Yeah, his numbers for 2016, he was the top defender on the nation's top defense. In 2016, he had 69 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, led the team with 10.5 sacks, and he was a first-team All-SEC player. And he's leaving a year early as a junior, which I like the experience as a junior. So I think Jonathan Allen's going to be an amazing player. Number 4 is Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to get Jamal Adams, a safety from LSU. Cameron, you've talked to me before. You don't see anything wrong with picking a secondary player from LSU.
No, LSU has a great secondary defense, honestly. I think that's the highlight of their team, really, more than anything else. Their offense isn't really stellar anymore. They don't really have anything going for them. They kind of rely on their secondary. Their front line isn't really all that great. They let the runs get through, but when the runs get through, that secondary is able to stop it.
Right, and I think that's a great pick for Jacksonville. Number 5 is the Tennessee Titans, and this is a little bit of a hometown because I, for one, like to see all of the MAC teams in the state of Michigan do very well because they don't get enough credit.
No, they don't.
And it's going to be Corey Davis, a wide receiver from Western Michigan, and I say this because this would be an amazing pick, and it would make Tennessee potentially the number 1 team in the AFC South, and that's crazy to say, but it would explode their offense to do things that their offense hasn't been able to do. Marcus Mariota is going to be, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback one time in this league.
At some point, yeah.
Yes,
he's
later
growing,
on.
and he's a great leader, too.
Right. He's a great leader. He can run. He does things so well. I love what Marcus Mariota can do. But when you look at the Tennessee Titans right now, they have amazing players, and they have players you don't really understand. Marcus Mariota and DeMarco Murray are some of those players.
Yep.
And behind Murray, you have Derrick Henry. So you already have that stable running game where I think DeMarco Murray is going to go back to that 1,000 rushing year eventually. I mean, he is an amazing running back in my opinion.
Maybe. I mean, the only thing that I see wrong about it is what he had when he was with the Cowboys. He had an amazing offensive line. The Titans have a decent offensive line. I think that's why he kind of struggled last year. He wasn't ready for that switch. Like, he thought, okay, I did amazing on the Cowboys, I'm going to be able to switch and play great on any team, but that's not the case. You have to have that O-line, you know?
Right, I agree with that. And some of the top offensive linemen in the draft, they don't go till late teens, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So I base that on GMs and scouts looking at this going, I don't think these offensive linemen are going to be amazing.
I mean, the first one I see on Todd's is 20.
Yes.
For Denver.
Ryan McKing.
Yep.
Offensive tackle, Wisconsin. So maybe that's why they're basing it. But Corey Davis, we got to see him play a little bit this year.
Mm-hmm.
I, oddly enough, got to see him live at both Western-Eastern game and both a Central-Western game. He's just an unbelievable player. I like the skill that Corey Davis has. I think him going to Tennessee would be an amazing pick. And the reason I said these top 5 is with the exception of Jonathan Allen going first, and then it would be Myles Garrett. No, excuse me. It would be Jonathan Allen, and then Myles Garrett would switch with Jonathan Allen and go to Chicago. So Watson would still go with San Francisco, and then Jamal Adams would go with Jacksonville, and then Corey Davis would still go with Tennessee. With the exception of Jonathan Allen going to Cleveland and Myles Garrett going to Chicago, I don't see any issues with his top 5. I think they all fit where GMs are saying we need these guys right now, and it's going to be a great pick for each of the top 5. And that's the reason we're talking about Todd McShay's list, is because I don't disagree with much of it.
The only issue I have inside the top 10 is the Jets.
New York Jets pick 6, and Todd McShay says they're picking Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback from Ohio State. Why do you have a problem with that?
I have a problem with what the Jets should really be fixing. They have... Well, I mean, they don't really have anything, so I guess they have to fix everything on the team, kind of like the Browns do. But I don't think their quarterback spot is stable. It doesn't matter who you throw in, who they have. They literally don't have anyone, really, who can play consistently, you know? Geno Smith did okay, but he's not consistent at all. He's more off than on, usually, in my opinion. But I think they should have went quarterback with that.
At the moment on the roster, and this is before some free agency moves, and a couple of these guys aren't official, but you have Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg, Geno Smith, and Ryan Fitzpatrick on the New York Jets quarterbacks.
Yeah, I see your face. Jimmy's face right now is saying,
scared.
Yeah, his face is saying, what can I do with who we have?
To be honest, I don't even know who you start.
You can't start any of them. None of them.
You haven't seen Hackenberg play.
Well, if you take any of those quarterbacks and put them on a different team, would they start?
With the exception of Cleveland, San Francisco, or Jacksonville, no.
Exactly.
Yeah. With the exception of the bottom 5 of the league.
Exactly.
Whoever you think the bottom 5 would be.
I mean, the Jets are in that bottom 5 because they have those quarterbacks, you know?
But it's hard. I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. But on the other side of things is you're going to have to get the defense back.
Right, and that's the route they feel that they should take is just beef up that defense.
You said it, and I think you said it a lot nicer than I'm going to put it, but New York is a dumpster fire right now. They have nothing. They have nothing to work with. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything for the next couple of years. They're a team where they're stuck in a bad division. I think the worst divisions to be in right now are the 2 East. And that is the AFC East and the NFC East. You're battling Miami, New England every single year.
Right. The only spot that you can hope for is maybe a wild card if you can.
The only spot you can hope for is 6th place right now, in my opinion. Because this is just me, but Miami's up and coming.
You're right. Miami is on the ups. Tannehill's playing great. He got injured last year, right? Though that was the issue they had.
And Miami was still playing great.
They were still playing good, which was hard to see because Tannehill's a great quarterback.
Right. and he's getting better.
Right, he is.
So, but New York didn't play good last year.
No.
I have their record right in front of me. They were 5-11.
Yep.
They ended up last,
Mm-hmm.
and they just weren't playing to the expectations they were supposed to.
They were. I don't even think that you would put them at a dumpster fire because they're not a big name team at all. You would probably put them at like the homeless man fire that's just on the side of the street in one of those cans, you know.
They're not doing.
They're not good.
They're not good is the basis of it before we make any more analogies. But I get your point that
Yeah.
the Jets should be worried about other stuff. But frankly, they need anyone.
Right.
And a secondary person from LSU and a secondary person from Ohio State are two guys I don't think you can go wrong.
No, you can't go wrong with that.
And
It's not that it's a bad choice. If I
You
was
think
a
they
GM
should be
there,
focused on different positions?
I would have went for a quarterback if I was there.
Well, the next quarterback in the draft by most people and on Todd McShay, and there's only two quarterbacks in the first round.
Right.
And that's Deshaun Watson and Mitch Trubisky. So let's say you're at number 6 right now and you're the GM for the New York Jets. I think we're both expecting Watson to go to either San Francisco or Chicago.
Yeah, he's going to go to one of the top ones.
So he will be gone before number 6. But would you pick Mitch Trubisky, who's a quarterback from North Carolina, if he's still up there at number 6?
I would. I think he's proven himself. I think he has room to grow, and he did a lot of growing while he was in college. And I mean, the sky's the limit for this guy, in my opinion. As long as he doesn't like joke around, as if he takes it seriously and puts in that work that he was putting in college when he gets to the pros, I think he could be a good quarterback, not like an all-time great, you know. But I think he could be a solid quarterback who's consistent enough to help out his team to do good in the season, you know.
Well, he had 3,478 passing yards last year.
Yep.
And when you have those types of numbers, people look at the stats side of things.
Yeah, but
You're looking more to the leadership side on what he can do for a football team.
yeah. The one thing that I wanted to mention, too, is his completion rate is actually higher than Deshaun Watson's. Deshaun Watson has a 67% completion rate when Mitch Trubisky is 68%.
Well,
I mean, it's only 1%, but
while we're getting into that, we talked earlier on the show that we're actually going to go to a top 3. This is going to be Cameron's big draft segment. Give me your top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, and give me some teams you think they're going to go. We already talked about 2 of them, but
yeah.
give me the overall on all of them.
I mean, quite honestly, I only have the 2 that we've already mentioned because those are really the only 2 like great quarterbacks that are going to go this draft. The draft is really low on quarterbacks this year, but like I said, Deshaun Watson, great quarterback. I think he lacks the leadership role, honestly, which I think is why CBS had Mitch over Deshaun because of the leadership role that they take on in their school. But like I said, Deshaun Watson, 67% completion rate, which is that's good. He had over 4,500 yards, nearly 4,600. He had 41 touchdowns and 17 interceptions last year. So that's a good season. Good ratio between touchdowns and interceptions. You look at Mitch. According to ESPN, he was ranked number 2 just behind Deshaun, but CBS flipped it, you know. And 68% completion rate, like you said, over 3,700 yards. He had 30 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. The dude threw single digits for interceptions.
Right.
And that's unreal.
When you look at Deshaun Watson, I mean, yeah, he did have 41 touchdowns, but he had 17 interceptions in his 2016 season. And the season before that, in the 2015 season, he had 13 interceptions. Watson throws a lot, and he is accurate at parts, but it's problem because it is a problem. Excuse me, not it is problem. It is a problem because when you throw a lot of interceptions in college, it shows me that you're going to throw a lot of interceptions in the professional.
Oh, you're going to throw a lot more because the safeties and cornerbacks are a lot smarter. They're more aware of what's going on. They just go crazy. So let me go over to the wide receiver core.
Wait, I just want to ask you real quick.
What's up?
If you had to pick between Watson and Mitch, in your opinion, which one's better? And tell me one reason why.
My opinion, I think I would go with Mitch because,
Okay.
like I said, the leadership role, and you kind of need that once you get to the NFL. If you don't have that as a quarterback or someone of that nature, because the quarterback's the guy that everyone leans on for the offense usually. If you don't have that leadership role, you won't get respect from anyone on the team.
Right.
So I think he will gain respect for that sense. He's not about himself. He's about the team, which I think Deshaun Watson lacks in that situation. I think he's more about himself and tries to get his stats up before anything else, which, I mean, sucks because he's a good quarterback. But, yeah, I would probably take Mitch. But let's go to who the quarterbacks throw to in the wide receivers. Like you mentioned, Corey Davis from Western. He's ranked number 1 on the CBS board. He had 97 receptions last year for 1,500 yards, and that's exactly 1,500. No other numbers other than that. 19 touchdowns. That's a good year. He's fast. He's agile as can be.
I mean, you're averaging, just on basic math, about a touchdown and a half a game.
Yeah.
That's something that you want to see in the professionals.
Yes.
About in the red zone, you're going to throw to someone you can count on.
Exactly. And then another person that I like is John Ross from Washington. He's ranked number 2 on the CBS board. He had 81 receptions last year, and he had 1,150 yards for 17 touchdowns, almost just as many touchdowns with nearly 400 yards less than Corey Davis. So that's nice to see. And he's quick. He's a speedy guy. I don't know if you remember this, but he is the one who broke the 40-yard record.
Yes, that's the guy. My question is, why are you picking him over Mike Williams? He's a wide receiver from Clemson. On Todd McShay's board, they have him going 10th to the Buffalo Bills. But Mike Williams is one of those tall guys you throw up to.
Yep.
And I understand you picked more of a speedy guy, but I would, in my opinion, pick Williams over the guy you picked. Why are you picking him?
And, I mean, I could see where you're going with that, but I think the way the league is now is a lot of teams like the speedy receivers. Like, when you look at the top receivers now, look at OBJ, who is really, really quick, not really big, but he still goes up and makes those catches, This is a guy in John Ross who can also go up and make those catches. Sure, he's not a big, like Calvin Johnson type of force, or Mike Williams, like you said, but he can still go up and make those catches. But what he does when he gets the ball is amazing. He can cut really well. He can stop on a dime. Like, I don't know how you can stop as quick as this dude does when you run a 4.22 40. Like, it's unreal. So I'm going to go, let's check out the running backs for a second. And I know you're probably going to disagree with one of them, but I don't know why. I like this guy. So let's go with Dalvin Cook from Florida State. Can't go wrong with him. When he gets hit, he just keeps going. He pushes through defensive lines. He's hard to tackle, really hard to tackle. He's kind of slippery, If people go to tackle him, they just slip off.
My problem with Dalvin Cook is he's not given enough respect. I don't know if that's the guy you thought I'd disagree with.
No, that's not the guy I thought you would disagree with.
On Todd McShay's board, it says he's going number 15 to the Indianapolis Colts. In my opinion, he's got to go higher. I mean, he's such an explosive guy.
I think he's worth going a little higher than what he is at. But he had 288 touches last year, and he ran for over 1,700 yards, 1,765. So this is the guy that I thought you were going to disagree with. Christian McCaffrey from Stanford. He's ranked 3rd on CBS's board. He's a junior. His stats last year, he had 253 touches for 1,603 yards. That's not a bad season in my opinion, but I know there's great running backs out there in Leonard Fournette, who you and I both know is a great running back from LSU. He was one of the only bright spots they had in that offense, in my opinion. But, that's the one that I thought you were going to disagree with because I figured you were going to go Leonard Fournette.
I'm going to go with neither of those guys for my number 2 running back pick.
Ooh.
Your first running back was Dalvin Cook, and I like that.
Yep.
Have you heard of a guy called Alvin Kamara? He's a running back from Tennessee.
No.
They have him going late first round, early second. I do think he'll go early second. He won't be a first round guy. But Alvin Kamara was a force to be reckoned with at Tennessee. He was a guy who really, like Dalvin Cook, you don't expect him to be out of the backfield running fast. And when I tell you these numbers, you're going to think he's a terrible running back. 5'10", 195 pounds.
5'10", 195?
Yes. I mean, those aren't exactly amazing numbers when you talk about running backs.
No, he needs to gain a little more weight if he wants to be in the NFL, though, I don't think with that weight size, it's going to be too easy for people to tackle him.
But listen to this. In the SEC, which is arguably the hardest defensive league, is that fair?
It's fair.
He had 1,211 yards in 2015 and 21 touchdowns. Okay? He is an amazing player.
Yeah, he is.
Okay? He doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but he averages 6.6 yards per game.
It's pretty good.
Okay. He runs with so much explosiveness. He did a little bit of special teams in Tennessee. And frankly, I give SEC running backs more respect than Christian McCaffrey in the Pac-12.
Right. Do me a favor real quick, though.
Okay.
Check what he did against Bama.
Check what he did against Bama. That's fair. See what he did against Bama.
Because I feel like if you do good against Bama, if he's still averaging those 6 yards against Bama, then, hey, have fun in the NFL because he'll do great.
Right, and I'm looking at his stats against Bama and Florida. He probably, of course, did worse. But
Right. I just want to know because, like, when you look at Bama's defensive line, that's an NFL defensive line right there, you know?
Right, and I get your point that against Kentucky or Mississippi State, it's more important to see how he does against Alabama and Florida. And, of course, you were right. He only had 21 yards against Alabama.
Ooh.
So that's not great. And he did not play against Florida because of an injury. That's part of the reason that people are looking down against Kamara is he did have an injury. When you have an injury, it's hard to look great. But let me tell you this. Against Texas A&M this year, which they had a really good defense.
They did.
And they have the number one draft prospect, according to Todd McShay, which is Myles Garrett. He had 127 yards.
Not bad.
Do you know what he did against Kentucky?
What did he do against?
10 attempts.
10
at
attempts.
rushing for 128 yards. This
Wow.
guy is an amazing, explosive guy. I don't think he got the respect he deserves in college.
No.
His stats weren't up there.
Right.
But when you average 12.8 a gain against Kentucky, when you average 8 against Texas A&M,
That's a first down a touch
yes.
against Kentucky.
So I think he's someone you need to look at. He's my number 2 running back. They have him going 29th. Todd McShay is they. McShay has him going 29th to Green Bay. I'm going to do a little bit of a weird thing here. How would you like to see Alvin Kamara play for our Detroit Lions? He's the exact running back that we need that could go with Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah.
He needs to gain more weight. I
understand your worry.
If he gains at least like 15 pounds, 10 to 15 pounds in the offseason and shows that he's going to beef up and get tougher, but doesn't really lose the speed that he has, I think he'd be a good running back in the NFL.
Well, the reason I brought him up to you is, yes, I think he's my number 2 running back. I don't like what McCaffrey,
You're good.
and Fournette bring to the table.
Okay.
And this is so unfair. I don't like Fournette because of that injury.
That's fair enough.
I can't
I mean,
stand that injury.
I totally agree. That's fair enough. The thing I like about McCaffrey is he runs angry. He just seems like he's super, super mad when he runs. And when you have a running back who runs like that, they're running through whoever is in front of them. You know, that's the thing I like about him is he doesn't care if you're 6'5", 280 pounds. He's going to try to run through you even though he's only 6 foot 205, you know?
Right. And you talk about Christian McCaffrey. I think he could be an amazing player.
Mm-hmm.
My only problem with Christian McCaffrey is he needs to go to a team with a beefy offensive line and maybe a playoff team. I don't think he's going to be a first-round running back in this league.
No, I'm not saying that he's going to get picked in the first round. He's kind of more of a personal favorite than anything else, in my opinion.
With the running back talk, I was a big Alvin Kamara fan, Tennessee running back. I think he'd go to the Lions, but McShay's got him going late first round, early second. He's got him going 29th to the Green Bay Packers. Where do you see Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey going?
Dalvin Cook is going to go, I think, mid-first round. In my opinion.
What's your number one team you could circle here?
We'll see. Well,
because I have an idea.
Teams that need like decent running backs. Actually, I don't disagree with Dalvin Cook going to Indianapolis with what Todd McShay has.
My opinion, Arizona should pick him up at number 13, just 2 picks ahead of Indianapolis. Arizona, they have David Johnson. Think about it. Johnson and Cook on the same team.
Yeah,
you got that powerhouse where you're not missing a running back. And nowadays, with the way the league is as a passing league, you need two.
Yeah. But I think Arizona needs to look at their defense, which is what they're doing, with the inside linebacker and Reuben Foster from Alabama. I think that's a good pick for them because their offense is already good. Like you mentioned, I mean, pretty much you just throw the ball to Larry Fitzgerald and let him do his thing is how their offense works, and it's
Can't do that forever.
I mean, it's successful right now. I'm not saying like 4 years from now it's going to be, but I think Larry Fitzgerald at least has 3 more really, really effective years.
Right, and I agree with your fact on Fitzgerald, but it's hard to compete with someone who is that good.
Oh, it's hard. So let's look on the defensive side of things.
My defense is going to be quick because we've already talked about two of the guys, so I'm not going to get into it. But my number one defensive player right now, and I think people need to really look at defensive line for this draft.
Oh yeah.
Third one you're not going to really agree with, but I think you'll like where I'm going with here. I told you about Jonathan Allen. I'm obsessed with Jonathan Allen.
I agree.
I like Alabama defensive end. They are just so good.
You can't go wrong picking a defenseman from Alabama.
No, you can't.
In any spot.
Number two is of course Myles Garrett. I love what he brings to the table.
Yep.
There's a reason he's ranked number one right now on Todd McShay. He's also versatile. He can play linebacker. He can play defensive end. I'm not going to get into Myles Garrett anymore because he is amazing, and I agree with that. He doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, and you're going to hear about Myles Garrett on every other show.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a guy you don't hear.
Ooh.
All right. Tell me what you know about Solomon Thomas.
What do I know about him?
Nothing.
Yeah,
To what you just
exactly.
said.
No.
He's 6'3", 275 pounds. He's a defensive end from Stanford. Todd McShay's got him going ninth to the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's the third best defensive player. Frankly, he's a top 5 player right now in this draft. Solomon Thomas played at Stanford, and Stanford got looked down on because of Christian McCaffrey, and he wasn't amazing on offense, so people just stopped looking at Stanford this year.
Yeah, they did.
And they got beat by teams they shouldn't have gotten beat by.
No,
But
they didn't have much of really anything besides McCaffrey for the offense, really. So that's why people just kind of looked away.
I'm getting a quote right now from the director of scouting for an AFC team. He can't, of course, say the team, but this is on NFL.com. He is a good player. I don't think he gets drafted as early as you do, meaning the people.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, this scout, but this is what he said. I think you're going to really like this. He's going to be really productive, and you have to figure out where to play him. But once somebody figures out where to play him, he's going to be amazing.
That's Solomon Thomas?
Yes,
Okay.
That's a scout from an AFC team. One of his biggest strengths is him. I say that because you don't find guys with an arm length of 33, a weight of 275, and who are 6'3", who can't play football. You don't.
No, that arm length got me.
The arm length is amazing.
That is.
When you're a defensive end.
That's just from shoulder to fingertip, right?
Right.
Whoa.
That's how that arm length works.
Ugh.
And so when an offensive line is getting on you as a defensive end, the one main goal is to get around him, to either tackle a running back, to either disrupt the play, to get a sack, or to put the quarterback under pressure. This guy is good at all of that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what he did in 2015. 2 years ago, he had 39 tackles. He had 10.5 for a loss, and he had 3.5 sacks. He had 4 tackles and a Rose Bowl victory 2 years ago.
Okay.
This past season, he had 62 tackles. He was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. 15 tackles for a loss.
Fair enough.
He is an unbelievable player. And let me tell you what, he comes big in big games. I told you about that Rose Bowl game 2 years ago against Iowa.
Yeah.
In a bowl game against North Carolina, he had 7 tackles, 2 for a loss, and 1 sack.
And that's what people like to see. I mean, you want a player that's going to be able to put up big numbers in the big situations.
Right. And as I said before, other shows will talk about Mitch. Other shows will talk about Watson. This show talks about guys you don't necessarily hear.
Right.
It's part of the reason I brought up my running back pick of Alvin Kamara. Solomon Thomas, a defensive end from Stanford. You will hear his name, Solomon Thomas, in the NFL next year. They have him going in the first round. I think wherever he goes, it's going to be amazing. I agree with McShay that he should go to Cincinnati. Cincinnati needs to beef up that defensive line. Cincinnati needs to be a better defense. So Solomon Thomas is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Real quick to finish our NFL draft talk, give me the one person for the Detroit Lions. I already picked mine. Alvin Kamara, running back from Tennessee. Todd McShay has Derek Barnett, defensive end from Tennessee. If you had to pick one person for the Lions, tell me who that is to end our draft talk.
Honestly, I think if he falls a little bit, I think Sidney Jones, the cornerback from Washington,
And right now, McShay's got him going 18
to Tennessee. Which I think if he falls, I think he would be an awesome presence in the secondary for the Lions. I think that's something that they should work on is their secondary. So that's my pick for the Lions.
All right.
So let's talk about a different football. It's known as football around the world. I don't know why the U.S. calls football, but we're kicking it with Cam real quick. We're going to have some soccer talk. So let's talk about just the world in general. Next year we have the World Cup. Woohoo! It's a favorite time of the year for me. Well, every 4 years it only comes, so it's sad. But it's my favorite time. Team USA looking decent after having a shaky start. They have a 65% chance to get into the World Cup after beating Honduras 6-0. Clint Dempsey was back for that game, scored a hat trick. That's awesome to see. I love Clint Dempsey. Great forward, awesome guy. He's going to be one of the top forwards of all time for the U.S. Another player that is up and coming, only 18 years old. Mark that, 18 years old playing for the national team, okay? His name, Christian Pulisic, okay? Awesome player. He's a really, really quick, speedy player. He plays for Dortmund, Dortmund takes all the young guys who are really, really fast, and it works because they're all around the same age, so they all play about the same. Tim Howard, though, is a good person to gauge on how he is for shooting-wise and runs and all that stuff. He said that he disguises runs very, very well, and his technique on the ball is growing and getting even better. Let's get away from the U.S. Let's go a little foreign. The Netherlands, after not qualifying for Euro 2016, now have an issue. They might not even qualify for the World Cup 2018. They have fired their coach. They're trying to find someone new. Quite frankly, I think they should just hop on a plane and get out of there. Speaking of hopping, this guy, he's also known as the jumping bean, okay? Chicharito. Actual name is Javier Hernandez, but everyone knows him as Chicharito. Plays for Mexico, Mexican striker. He's only 28 years old, but he just tied with, Jared Borgatti, I think is how you say it, for the top scorer all time for the Mexican national team. He has 46 goals now, and the reason why I say jumping bean is because Chicharito in Spanish means jumping bean, because when he was younger, he was always jumping around, running all over the place. We don't got to get into that. Let's go to La Liga. That is the Spanish league in Spain. It's kind of an issue, and it could grow, could get worse. Peru, and I know this is weird that we're talking about Spain, but Peru has seized 1,417 kilos of coke, labeled Messi. It had pictures of him.
Beautiful pictures. It looked just like him.
It was him. So, that's a lot of cocaine. That's a lot. And if it's being sent to Messi, that's an issue. That alone is worth $85 million. So Peru's investigating it. I don't think it's really anything. There's other instances where drugs are named after athletes, so it could just be a name. Who knows? It's being investigated, but it seems like they're just trying to find ways to get Messi in trouble because he had the tax evasion problem with his dad, which is still going on. They're checking into that. I think he's going to court next month. A little bit of transfer talk. I mentioned Griezmann going to Man U. He doesn't want to leave Atletico. Why would you? He's got a good setup there. James Rodriguez is possibly going to Liverpool, which I think would be sweet, working together with Milner in the middle. That'd be awesome. And then Alexis Sanchez may go to Bayern Munich, but there's not really a good talk in that. He's still got a year left on his contract. But here's a big name, and I know you know this guy. You probably haven't known any of the names I've said so far, except for if I said
I'll
Neymar.
do you one better. I haven't even been listening.
Good. Neymar.
Yes,
you know
Neymar.
that name.
Brazilian, fast, unbelievable player.
Yes. He's a forward.
I love guys with one name.
It's easy to remember, right?
It's easy to remember.
And Brazil is full of them. Anyway, Neymar may go to Man United, which would be unreal, adding him to a forward spot, having Zlatan up there and Pogba in the middle. Whew, that's a trifecta nobody wants to deal with if you're a back line. But the only issue is he's still got a lot of time on his contract with Barcelona. But Jose Mourinho came out and said that he is okay with paying the £173 million for the release clause. And that equals out to $217.98 million US dollars.
I think that makes him a little bit more interesting.
That's a lot. So if that does happen and Jose Mourinho does how he wants to do it, Neymar will get paid $522,900 a week if he goes to Man U, making him the highest paid player in the EPL. That's outrageous. That's an insane amount. So now that I've got my turn, I'm going to take a little stop, get some fuel at the Paxson Pit Stop.
The quick Paxson Pit Stop minute. We try to make this as quick as possible here. Yesterday in the NASCAR Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
I thought we were
mistake.
taking a pit stop. I didn't realize we were going to the dunes.
All right, let's try this again.
Let's restart.
At the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, they were in Fontana, California. The laps ended up being at 202. And at the D Oval track-shaped course, Kyle Larson, 110 laps led. He won the race. Brad Keselowski came in second. In third was Clint Boyer. Fourth was Martin Truex Jr. And fifth was Joey Logano. Truex Jr. led 73 laps, but he ended up in fourth. A couple big guys ended up at the bottom here this week. And, of course, big guys. I mean, the girl, Danica Patrick, ended up in 26th. Kurt Busch ended up in 24th. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ended up in 22nd. And, again, Jimmy Johnson, it's been really surprising to see him race this year. He hasn't done what he was supposed to do, which was try to go for that 7th championship. He's ended in 21st, and he only got 16 points yesterday. Not great.
Where is he on the leaderboard?
On the leaderboard, he's not doing what he's supposed to do, like I said. Jimmy Johnson, 17th. Kyle Larson still in first with Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. in the official leaderboard. And next week, defending champion Kyle Busch, they go to Martinsville. Martinsville is so much fun to watch, Cam. Ooh. It's only a half-a-mile track, 500 laps.
It's a quick one.
They go quick. So it's going to be fun to watch. Sunday, April 2nd at 2 o'clock, Martinsville. And that was the Paxson Pit Stop.
Speedy.
And it goes to where a topic that I have been waiting to talk about with Cameron. This is how we're going to end our show.
And, honestly, I didn't think you were going to want to talk about this. That's why I never brought it up to you. But
it's something that I didn't want to talk about until he did two things.
All right.
I say that's because, one, I agree, and one, I disagree.
Okay.
Let me start off with talking about a lot of basketball fans and a lot of sports fans now know who Lavar Ball is. But to give you a quick synopsis, Lavar Ball is the father of Lonzo Ball, who is a UCLA great player.
Great player.
He's going to be a top 5 pick in this next draft. And we're not necessarily talking about Lonzo real quick, but I think we can both agree he's going to be a top 5 pick next year.
Lonzo is for sure going to be a top 5 pick. I say top 3.
Okay. Well, with how basketball works, we have no idea what teams could pick him because of the lottery pick.
I don't think it really matters, though, because with when you're looking at the football draft, I mean, you need position-wise, position. That's all that matters. It doesn't really make much of a difference whether you pick a center or a point guard unless you don't have a center or a point guard. Then, yeah, you got to get that issue. But Lonzo is a very versatile player. He's a big guy, but he runs the point like a point guard would,
Right. But Lavar Ball is the father. He's a very outspoken man. People have quoted him saying he wants all of his sons to have billion-dollar shoe deals. He's on Bleacher Report. There's a video documentary they're making of him comparing himself to Michael Jackson's father and Serena and Venus Williams' father and saying, I'm just as crazy as them. And
yeah, he compared himself to them.
He did. That's what's crazy. He compared himself to the Jackson father.
Yeah, he said that he was the same. He said Michael Jackson's father did the same thing. Serena and Venus Williams' father did the same thing. Tiger Woods' father did the same thing. I'm just doing what they did, and I'm going to be right just like they were.
And this is a part of a reason why I haven't wrote about him, and Cameron's correct. I didn't want to talk about him because this guy drives me crazy.
He drives me a little
crazy. I don't want to hear this guy talk about his kids so much because this is, in general, this is what people do. My son's the greatest. My son can do this. My son can do this. Your son is very good, but you're just saying nonsense.
Right. I mean, my mom thought I was the greatest, and I could only play college sports, so I couldn't go pro.
Yes.
Exactly.
No, it's what a parent's supposed to do. But I don't like what he's saying, not just about his sons. He talks about himself. Yes, he was in the league for a little bit, but he averaged 2.2 points a game.
He wasn't even in the league. That was for a D2 school.
That was for a D2 school.
Yeah. He didn't make it to the league. He never played in the league.
He never played in the league, saying he can beat Michael Jordan, saying his sons can be more of a difference than Magic. And I'm going to get to the part I don't like first, and that is that he talks about UCLA.
Yeah.
And when you talk about college basketball, you think North Carolina, Kentucky, Michigan State, UCLA.
I think it's just because UCLA is close to home for him because they live in California.
But I don't care. The way he talks about it is so unbelievably terrible, you're not supposed to do it. This is what he said a quote yesterday when UCLA coach Steve Alford actually decided to stay in UCLA instead of going home to Indiana. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I heard about this.
He said, I feel good about this. He knows my boys. I like his style. I'm glad he's staying. He thinks he's just staying at the school for his sons.
No, he's happy at the school. That's why he's staying. He's staying at the school because he's happy at the school. He said that, yeah, he would like to coach in his home place because that's where he's from, but he loves UCLA too much. And quite frankly, why would you give up the California weather for Indiana? That's my point to it, though. That's another. People don't think about that, though. That's another thing that does impact jobs. That's why the Western Conference for basketball is doing so well compared to the Eastern Conference. In my opinion, I think that's what it is. That's what it is for basketball players. They like having that warm weather where they can be outside shooting instead of just stuck in a gym.
So what you're saying is the weather, he likes his job, he likes the pay, and he likes his family. That doesn't mean a damn. That Lavar Ball's sons are going to play for him is the reason he's going to stay. That's why I don't like this man. He's so outspoken. He says whatever he wants. It's ridiculous what he says.
Hey, but Lonzo's better than Steph Curry. Remember that.
That's another thing that he says. And you have no idea if anyone can be better than anyone if they haven't played in the league. This guy is so unbelievable. I can't stand what he says. I disagree with him so much, and I hate him to this point. And Cameron, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay, go ahead.
You have to do this now to be noticed.
Yeah, you do, and that's actually what I was going to say.
This is why I like him, because yes, I hate him as a person.
Yes,
you shouldn't talk about your kids like this.
Right.
And the main reason people hate him,
right,
is you're riding the coattails of your son. You're riding the coattails of someone who's not you.
Right.
You're metaphorically beating it into him that you're going to be the best and you're going to turn into this amazing player. When frankly, in this world, you should be the amazing person.
Yeah.
You should be the one making this.
Yeah.
And he said it many times before, which he's very certain. I'm the one who made Lonzo.
Well, this is what...
This kid hasn't made it to the league yet.
I saw an SC feature on the family, and this is what it was. It was LaVar Ball saying, I picked this from the beginning. I picked my wife, and I said, hey, we're going to have 3 sons, and they're going to be amazing. She's an athlete. I'm an athlete. Well, quite frankly, you're hardly an athlete if you're only scoring 2 points off the bench in a Division II school. But whatever. So he said, I'm an athlete. She's an athlete. This was started from the beginning. This is how it's going to be. They're going to be athletes. They're going to be the best. But, yeah, I do agree with you. You do need to be outlandish and crazy to get attention.
I mean, I hate it, but you need to be a Marinovich. You need to be a Williams. You need to be a Ball.
That's what it is now.
This guy, he most likely could fail.
Yeah.
I say that because teams don't want people like this.
Well, how many people do you think actually buy into the Big Baller brand? That's the brand that he owns.
I don't care. It's the part. That's the only argument and the only advantage and the only plus that I'm going to give the man is that you have to do this nowadays. You have to be outspoken.
Yeah.
But there are a million negatives.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you, why do people not like him?
Why don't people like him?
It's amazing.
Because he's way too outlandish. He says dumb stuff.
But so does everyone nowadays.
But if you're going to go out there and say that your son who couldn't push, if he's better than Steph Curry, they would be playing for a national title. They wouldn't have lost.
But
right?
Steph Curry never played for a national title.
But Steph Curry also played for a terrible school.
But no, your argument is really bad there because UCLA went up against Kentucky, which was an amazing team this year.
Did Davis make the tournament when Steph Curry was there?
Yes, they did.
They did?
So you're comparing Davidson making the tournament and winning a game to UCLA going to the championship.
Who else does UCLA have, though, besides T.J. Leaf?
That's fair. But
it was the same thing. It was the same setup for Steph Curry. Okay, the thing that I don't get, LaVar Ball said, if you put Steph Curry on UCLA and put my boy on the Warriors, watch what would happen. What would happen? Steph Curry would lead the UCLA to a championship game.
I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that.
Not at all?
I don't. I think they could go far, but that's like the argument of saying, let's put LeBron James on this team, let's put Steph Curry on this team, let's put Kobe on a college team and see how far they get.
Quite frankly, you put LeBron on any college team, they're going to win the national title.
You don't know that
until
watching a game.
Dude,
that's my problem with him saying that his son is going to be amazing. He hasn't played an NBA game. People are really good in the NBA who aren't really good in college.
Yes, I get that.
People are really good in college who sometimes fail in the NBA.
I get that. He's saying right now, right this second, with how good Steph is at shooting, with how good he is at passing, you don't think he would boost a team to the finals?
I think he would. I think he has the potential to do that, but I haven't seen a game played. I don't like this prediction game.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm saying he could. I'm agreeing with you. But I'm not for sure saying Steph Curry can do anything with any college team because he's never played with a college team at UCLA.
True.
And this is why this is ridiculous to me. I don't like what LaVar Ball is doing, but you have to do it nowadays. Yep. You absolutely have to do it. That's my only argument to do, and that's why I like him. And you know I don't like talking about this guy because this is ridiculous. Don't talk about your children like this, okay? You're setting them up for failure. Yes, I think he cares about his sons. Yes, I think he's a good dad. Yes, I think he's a good promoter. You get this guy on any team in the league right now, you're going to get more fans in it. This guy is a loudmouth. This guy is terrible at what he does. And frankly, he's a terrible human being. I don't like loud-spoken people. You see dads going to baseball games. You see dads going to basketball games. You see dads going to football games, hockey games, whatever. And they're crying over their sons. Do you know what this guy's doing? He has a stare down of, I'm disappointed because you didn't score enough points. He has the look of, if I was a scout, I wouldn't pick you. Look at the pictures you see of him online. He looks angry. He's on First Take last Thursday yelling at Stephen A. Smith.
He did offer him to make pancakes,
I don't care if he offered him to make food, Cameron. You can't do this.
That was only if UCLA won the championship.
What's the argument that he can do this?
This is something that I do want to mention, though, real quick, is this is what he is turning his family into. And I got this. I was listening to 97 Won the Ticket. I think it was Carson Anderson got a ticket text from somebody that said the Ball Boys are ESPN's version of the Kardashians.
Frankly,
as sad
that's
as
correct.
it is, that's what it's becoming.
But nobody likes the Kardashians.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point. He is turning everyone against his sons. Lonzo is amazing. He's a great player. He will be an effective player in the NBA. Give him time, though. He's not going to be an instant impact. He's going to be a great player eventually. Give him time. All he's doing for his sons right now is putting a big bullseye on them for when they get to the league. That's all that is going on.
But you know what he's doing, and that's mainly impressive, and this is just an estimate, and I think 100% of the two people in the show agree with this, and 70% of basketball fans agree with this. We want him to fail. We don't want people who expect success to win. Is that fair?
It's not that I
LeBron didn't expect success.
It's not
Kobe
that I
didn't
want
expect
Lonzo
success.
to fail, though.
Steph Curry didn't expect success.
It's not that I want Lonzo to fail.
I want him to fail.
Lonzo hasn't done anything for me to not like him. It's his dad. I hope his dad's
brand. Yeah, he didn't tell him to shut up.
This is what happens. I want his dad's brand to go under. That's what I want. I don't want the son to fail
because if he succeeds, you keep hearing him.
You keep
hearing his voice.
I want the son to go away from his dad. I want him to sign
a different
agent.
He's not going to do that.
I know. This is what I want, though. I want him to sign another agent. I want him to do what he thinks is best for himself. You know what I mean? I think that's what he should do.
I agree with him, but it's not going to happen.
If he does that, though, you think people will get behind him, right? Yes.
I would get behind him.
I would, too.
At the moment, I don't care about any son because of their father, and that's unfair to do. I know it's unfair to do. But in any sport, if you have a dad going on media, saying things that are just absurd, saying he's better than the best people in the game, it's unbelievable. He can't do this.
No.
And that's why it angers me to so much extent, because you're thinking unrealistically about this. What if Lonzo goes to this? There are two options.
I'm not thinking that. That's what his dad has said. That's the only reason I brought that up. I don't think that.
You just said he could sign with someone else. You think you want him to do that.
I would like if he did.
Right.
Right.
There are two options. You either succeed as a family in this situation, or you fail as a family.
Right.
Every Ball will be amazing, have shoe deals, be on commercials, be in movies, be next to models, doing cocaine in Miami, okay? Being at the top of their levels, doing amazing, or they will fail. Every single son will be as worse or even just the same as their father. There is no other in between, Cam. And that's why I'm so mad at this.
If they're doing cocaine in Miami, they're not going to be in the league very long. Quite honestly, they're going to be better than what their dad was.
Rich person joke.
I get it. They're going to be better than what their dad was. They're going to be decent players in the NBA. They're not going to be outrageous. Like I said, they're going to be good role players.
You don't know if they're going to be decent in the NBA.
They're going to be good role players.
You're guessing.
You can tell by how. Watch. Okay, what did he do
next
against?
Preseason, he could get injured.
Okay, yeah. If he gets injured, that's fine. I'm talking injury-free. Okay, injury-free.
He could be just like Christian Laettner and be a ball boy on so many teams after being the best college player ever.
Hey, let me finish, sir. He played amazing in the tournament. You can't dispute that.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
He's the only reason that UCLA was as high of a seed as they were.
Correct.
Given that, you watch him play, he does look for teammates just like any other point guard in the league does. He scores at will with that awkward whatever shot he got, almost like the Tayshaun Prince shot, you know. But he looks to get teammates involved, which is good for the league. If he plays like that in the NBA, he's going to do just fine. Fair?
I'm not disagreeing that he's a bad player. All I'm saying is I don't like how outspoken his father is.
Right.
I don't like how outspoken he is. And it's unfair to compare him to his father, but he's being outspoken by not telling his dad, like, hey, stop it. Like, you're making us look bad.
He's not being outspoken by doing that. He's not doing anything about it. Therefore, he's not outspoken. If he was outspoken,
You're allowing your father to look like
he's
a
not
diva.
saying anything about it.
So do
So
something
he's
about
not
it.
outspoken.
If your father was doing this, you wouldn't tell him to stop?
I'd tell him my dad wouldn't do that in the first
It's
place.
not
But
the
if
question.
he did,
It's not the
if
question.
he did, yeah, I'd probably be like, look, Dad, I don't like the attention this is bringing me. But he's not going to do that because he obviously, one, he doesn't care. But two, he's not outspoken enough to go against his dad.
Then that's sad.
Yeah.
Okay, you have the expectation of this. If you aren't a top 5 player, a starting all-star player in your first year, you average 20 points in your first year, frankly, I don't care about you anymore because your father said you're going to be the best player ever. At the moment, you're either the best player or you're a piece of trash.
It doesn't happen like that in the NBA. That's why I said
That's
give him a couple years.
what he's doing.
I know. That's why I said give him a couple years and he'll be at that top level. So, I'm glad we got in that heated debate argument. This is probably going to be a bad day for the both of us going forward. Probably going to be at each other's throats. But anyway, we'll end it at that. Thank you guys for listening. This is Cam Jam Experience. Check out our next video that we're going to be doing. We're going to be trying a couple new things, but check it out. Have a great day, everybody.